Welcome back, seekers of unsettling truths, lost in the shadows. Tonight, we won't talk about the creeping shadows that stretch long across moonlit forests. We won't delve into the gnawing dread of an empty stomach or the desperate gamble of a contaminated bite. No. Tonight, our terror comes from within. It emanates from the very human system, from the hands of those who promised order, yet delivered chaos. This is a horror far more intimate, more insidious than any beast or famine. It's the silent, agonizing truth that in the Middle Ages, justice itself could be a torment far greater than the crime. The system designed to protect often became the oppressor. Your own body, once a vessel of strength and simple purpose, becomes a battlefield, a canvas for practices so barbaric, so devoid of true understanding, that a simple misfortune transforms into an unimaginable ordeal. To fall into the gears of medieval law was not just a misfortune. It was to be condemned to a series of escalating tortures, administered with the best intentions, yet plunging you deeper into a hell of pain and despair. The promise of a verdict often led only to more profound suffering, a cruel irony woven into the very fabric of existence. This is the tale of medieval law, a time when salvation became synonymous with agony, and the path to justice often led directly to the grave. If such unsettling truths draw you in, if the dark corners of history hold a strange fascination, then perhaps stay with us. Now, dim the lights, and let us begin this journey together. The day begins like any other. You rise with the sun, the scent of fresh bread from your neighbor's oven mingling with the chill morning air. You tend to your crops, or perhaps you labor at your craft, your hands calloused, your back aching but accustomed. Life is hard, but it is predictable. You nod to familiar faces, exchange a few words about the weather or the harvest. You believe yourself to be a small, unremarkable cog in the vast grinding wheel of the world, too insignificant for trouble to seek you out. You are wrong. It begins subtly. A colder glance from a neighbor you once shared ale with. A sudden silence when you approach a knot of villagers conversing in the market square, their eyes darting away. The occasional hushed whisper, a fragment of your name carried on the wind, tainted with an unspoken accusation. You dismiss it at first, a misunderstanding, gossip, the petty jealousies of village life. But the chill persists, growing colder, heavier. It is the insidious spread of a rumor, a silent poison seeping into the very foundations of your existence, turning friends into strangers, familiar paths into lonely corridors. Then comes the knock, not the friendly rap of a visitor, but a heavy, authoritative thud that rattles the very timbers of your humble home. Your heart clenches, a sudden sharp pang of dread. You open the door, and there they stand. The Lord's bailiff, his face grim and unyielding, flanked by 2 armed men-at-arms. Their presence alone is an indictment. There are no explanations, no questions, only a terse command spoken in a voice devoid of emotion. A cold, hard stone dropped into the quiet pool of your life. You are accused. Come. The world tilts. Your mind races, desperate to recall a transgression, a misstep, a forgotten debt. But there is nothing, only the crushing weight of their gaze, the metallic gleam of their weapons, and the sudden chilling click of iron as the bailiff produces a pair of crude, heavy manacles. Your wrists are seized, the cold metal biting into your skin, a jarring physical confirmation that your ordinary life is over. As you are roughly pulled from your home, you see it in the eyes of your neighbors, not sympathy, but fear. Fear of contagion, fear of association, and perhaps a flicker of morbid curiosity. You are now truly alone, adrift in a sudden, terrifying current, dragged away by the indifferent hands of a law you never truly understood. You are brought before the court, not a hall of reasoned argument, but a dim, smoke-filled chamber where the air hangs heavy with the scent of fear and damp stone. Here, logic holds little sway. Instead, your fate rests in the hands of the divine, or so they claim. Your accusers are not witnesses, but voices, distant and indistinct, fading into the solemn pronouncements of the priest and the Lord's grim-faced judge. You are told your innocence or guilt will be revealed not by testimony, but by a test, a judgment of God, a trial by ordeal, and suddenly the cold terror you felt when seized is replaced by a burning, helpless despair. The first test, perhaps, is the ordeal of cold water. Your hands are bound, your legs secured, and you are cast into the chilling depths of a dark river or a deep well. The sudden shock of the frigid water steals your breath, leaving you gasping, struggling against the ropes that drag you down. You flail, fighting the desperate instinct to surface, to breathe, to live. They watch from the bank, their faces impassive, their eyes fixed on the churning water. If you sink, if you drown, you are innocent. Your death is proof of your purity. But if, by some cruel twist of fate, the water rejects you, if you float to the surface, gasping for air, you are deemed guilty. The water, they believe, would not receive a sinner. The irony is a bitter taste in your mouth. Salvation through drowning, condemnation through survival. Your body, struggling for life, becomes your own betrayer. Or perhaps it is the ordeal of hot iron. Before you, a fire blazes, its heat searing your skin even from a distance. A priest with solemn, unwavering eyes retrieves a bar of iron, glowing dull red. He recites prayers, invoking divine judgment, as the unbearable heat emanates from the metal, promising agony. You, are forced to carry this searing burden for a prescribed number of paces, or grasp it, the smell of burning flesh instantly filling your nostrils. Each step is a scream trapped in your throat, every muscle screaming in protest. Your hands, already raw from labor, blacken and blister under the immense heat. There is no escape. The pain is absolute, overwhelming. After 3 days, your wounds are examined. If they have begun to heal cleanly, it is God's sign of your innocence. But if they fester, if infection sets in, it is proof of your guilt. The outcome, as you already know, is sealed long before the iron touches your skin. There is no triumph here, only degrees of suffering. The judgment of God has been passed, or perhaps simply circumvented. Either way, you find yourself in a place far worse than the public square, the interrogation chamber, deep within the castle's bowels. Here, there are no crowds, no priests invoking divine will, only stone walls, damp and cold, and the faint metallic tang of fear in the air. The only light comes from a sputtering torch, casting dancing shadows that twist into grotesque shapes on the rough-hewn ceiling. The silence is profound, broken only by the drip of water from above, the distant scurry of unseen creatures, and the ragged sound of your own breathing. Before you stands your interrogator, not a judge, but a man cloaked in shadow, his face obscured, his voice low and devoid of emotion. He asks the same questions again and again, his words a monotonous drone against the thumping of your terrified heart. Confess. Tell us what you did. Who aided you? You stammer. You plead. You deny. You try to explain, to make sense of the madness. But your words dissolve into the damp air, unheard, unheeded. The questions continue, relentless, until the first hint of something worse appears. A gleam of iron, a creak of strained rope, a cold, hard press against your skin. They are crude, these instruments, yet terrifyingly effective. Perhaps your wrists are bound and slowly stretched, the joints screaming in protest, the sinews feeling as if they will tear from your bones. You feel the slow, agonizing separation, the relentless pressure, each degree of tension, a fresh wave of blinding pain. Or perhaps it is your fingers placed into a vice, the pressure mounting, crushing, until the bones begin to protest with an unbearable crunch. The air itself seems to thicken with your silent screams trapped within your own head. Your interrogator's voice remains flat, unwavering. Tell us the truth. The pain will end when you confess. There is no anger, no cruelty in his tone, only cold, unfeeling logic. He is merely an instrument of the law, a hammer striking an anvil. Each denial, each plea of innocence is met with another turn of the screw, another agonizing stretch. The world shrinks to the point of pain, to the desperate, animalistic, urge for it to stop. You would confess to anything, invent any lie, betray anyone just for a moment of blessed cessation. But the truth you have to offer, your innocence, is not the truth they seek. They want their truth, and they will extract it, piece by agonizing piece, until nothing of your original self remains. The interrogation ends, not with release, but with a different kind of sentence. Perhaps your confession, coerced and false, has been accepted. Or perhaps the truth you offered, your stubborn innocence, simply led to a lesser but no less cruel punishment. You are led out, blinking against the harsh daylight, your body a symphony of aches and throbbing pain. The air, though fresh, feels like a slap. Before you, the town square, bustling with a familiar, yet now terrifying crowd. They are not here to witness your release. They are here for a spectacle, and you are the star. The pillory, or perhaps the heavy wooden stocks, awaits. You are roughly pushed towards it, your weakened legs struggling to obey. The rough wood chafes against your skin as your neck and wrists, or perhaps your feet, are locked into place. The familiar world around you shrinks, confined to the view of the sky above and the faces of the jeering crowd below. There are no kind eyes, no sympathetic gazes, only a sea of contorted expressions, curiosity, disdain, amusement, and a chilling, palpable sense of superiority. They throw things, mud, rotten vegetables, even stones. Each impact is a physical blow, but the true agony is the shame, the utter degradation. Your name, once merely yours, is now a byword for a lesson, a warning. You are stripped not just of freedom, but of dignity. The hours stretch into an eternity. The sun beats down, or the cold wind bites, each element conspiring with your exposed state to inflict further misery. Flies buzz around your face, attracted by the sweat, the filth. You are thirsty, hungry, every muscle cramping. Your mind, already strained by the interrogation, begins to wander, lost in a fog of pain and humiliation. You try to close your eyes, to escape, but the raucous laughter, the cruel taunts, penetrate even the darkest corners of your mind. You are an object, a public display, a living, breathing testament to the merciless reach of medieval law. Even when finally released, when the wooden planks are unlocked and you stumble, aching to the ground, the ordeal is far from over. The physical wounds may eventually heal, but the mark is permanent. You have been branded, not with iron, but with the searing judgment of your community. Every glance will be a reminder, every whispered word a fresh accusation. The home you once knew is no longer a sanctuary, your neighbors no longer allies. You are an outcast, a pariah, forever tainted. The public shame is a sentence without end, plunging you deeper into a hell of isolation and despair. The promise of public order often led only to more profound, soul-crushing suffering, a cruel irony woven into the very fabric of existence. The day arrives, cold and gray. Whether your journey through the cruel machinery of justice ended in a forced confession, a failed ordeal, or simply the arbitrary will of a powerful lord, the ultimate judgment has been rendered. Your sentence, death, not a quiet, private passing, but a spectacle, a lesson, a performance designed to instill fear and obedience in the hearts of the populace. You are led through the cobbled streets, your legs heavy, your mind a hazy blur of pain and dread. The procession is slow, deliberate, each step a further descent into the abyss. As you near the town square, the murmuring of the crowd grows, a low, unsettling hum that vibrates through the very ground. They are waiting. Hundreds of faces pressed together, a sea of morbid curiosity and detached fascination. Some whisper, some point, but most merely stare, their eyes reflecting the grim anticipation. You are no longer a person. You are an example, a pawn in a macabre dance between power and terror. The air grows thick with the scent of unwashed bodies, damp earth, and an unsettling aroma that you cannot quite place. The metallic tang of fear, perhaps, or the faint, distant scent of smoke. Then you see it, looming against the pale sky, a stark, imposing silhouette. The gallows, or perhaps the pyre, a pile of rough-hewn logs already stacked, waiting for the spark. A shiver, colder than any winter wind, runs through you. This is the end. There is no appeal, no escape, no last-minute reprieve. The priest's solemn words wash over you, meaningless sounds in the roar of your own despair. The executioner, a figure cloaked in anonymity, moves with grim efficiency, his hands calloused, his face hidden. He is merely an extension of the law, a final, unyielding instrument. Your legs tremble as you are guided to the platform or positioned near the base of the wood. The crowd seems to swell, their whispers turning into a collective gasp as the final preparations are made. You close your eyes, desperately trying to cling to a last memory, a loved one's face, the warmth of the sun, the simple joy of a shared meal. But only the cold, unyielding reality presses in. The creak of the rope, the scent of fresh wood, the murmur of final prayers. This is not an act of justice for you, the condemned. This is a message for them, the living. A final brutal reminder that in this world, life is fragile, and the law, in its ultimate manifestation, is absolute, merciless, and terrifyingly final. And so, the story of medieval law closes, leaving behind a chilling testament. This was a system not always of justice, but of arbitrary power, where innocence offered no shield and the truth was often extracted by force, not sought through reason. Your journey, a journey through accusation, ordeal, torture, and public shame, culminates in a final brutal truth, that in the shadows of the Middle Ages, the very foundation of order was often the most terrifying source of chaos. The monster was not lurking in the woods, nor did it rise from a plague pit. It was forged in the cold iron of manacles, etched into the rough wood of the pillory, and cried out in the agonizing screams echoing from the dungeon walls. It was the crushing weight of a system that valued compliance over compassion, spectacle over solace. The true horror of medieval law was its intimacy, its capacity to take a mundane dispute or a baseless whisper and transform it into a personal hell from which escape was rare and peace impossible. Remember this silent terror, this hidden agony, for it lurks in the most unexpected places. It exists wherever power becomes absolute, wherever human suffering is merely a tool, and wherever the promise of order descends into brutal, unfeeling control. The echoes of those medieval injustices still whisper on the wind, a grim reminder that the most disturbing tales are often not of the supernatural, but of the depths of human cruelty inflicted in the name of a twisted, merciless justice. Now, try to rest, if you can. Let the echoes of their suffering fade from your mind, like distant memories carried by the tide. Slip away from the cold stone, from the hands that held you. Let go of these shadows and drift into quiet, into stillness, into sleep. Let the fire crackle and the fear subside. Subscribe for more tales of the night.